taking care of you, right, as the leader is essential, because you will see it come out in ways that you're not proud of.
Welcome to Honest Ecommerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Honest Ecommerce. Today, I'm welcoming to the show founder and chief curator of Get Maine Lobster and Black Point Seafood, Mark Murrell. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chase. Nice to be here.
Oh, I'm excited to chat. Well, the names kind of give away the types of products you're selling, but I am going to ask, What are you guys selling over there? What are you shipping to people?
Yeah. The big things are lobster tails, lobster roll kit, and we actually ship live lobster as well. And then, of course, accoutrements like clam chowder, stuffed clams, crab cakes, things like that. And in season, because we actually get some really good fresh seafood as well. We'll do things like bluefin tuna, stuff like that.
That's delicious, actually. And
Yes.
We're recording this before lunch, and now I already know what's on my mind for lunch. Now, take me, I guess let's start at the beginning. Take me back in time. How did you kind of get into the seafood business and, really dive into wanting to take it direct to consumer?
I was raised here in Maine, so seafood was plentiful. And it was actually when I moved to Chicago, Illinois for a while that even though Chicago has access to great seafood, you look at Lake Michigan, you're like, I don't think I want to eat anything out of there. And so I talked to some people back in Maine and did a little bit of research. Come to find out, there was some room in the market for direct-to-consumer lobster company. And so I launched that in about 2010 to kind of fill the question that I had, is this fresh? Where is it from? Kind of thing, if I'm living outside of New England.
And were you shipping live lobsters back then?
That was the first thing we went with, was live lobster. And I was living in Chicago. In 2010 was like Groupon was the big thing. And so they were down the street from me. So I just called them up and said, hey, I got lobster. And they had never sold lobster on Groupon before. And so we figured out, put something together, put it out into the world or to the US. It went off like crazy. And we literally only sold on Groupon for like the first 2 years.
You didn't even have a standard .com as they say?
We had a .com. Yeah, because they had to, come to the website and redeem their Groupon. But I didn't do anything else. I didn't do any ads. Didn't do any email, right? It was just Groupon. I literally just wanted to learn in the first couple of years. What were some of the pain points for people? What were some of the amazing, unforgettable points for people so that we can constantly evolve? I
mean, I think that just the supply chain and the logistics of shipping a live animal.
Yeah.
Did that already exist in Maine, or was that an uphill battle in and of itself?
It existed in Maine, not at the scale it does today. Live lobster direct to consumer is pretty popular now. Although the awesome thing for my business, there's still a ton of people that have no idea that you can do that. The technology, if you will, has evolved over time. We use special boxes that are slotted so that we put the lobsters in tail down, claws up. And that allows for them to not really move around a lot. You are getting a higher end, more primo lobster because in order for them to survive the trip to California or Wyoming, it has to be the most resilient, spry lobster of the bunch. And so they only get the primo if you get it direct.
Absolutely. All right. Now, you launch on Groupon. How do you get the group? Do you just walk into the Groupon office?
I was literally down the street, so I just would text some friends like, hey, you know anybody at Groupon? Just give me an email. And so I literally just shot him an email and I said, subject line, I got lobster, let's talk. Because I had a feeling that, because they were still young then, that they would love this. And then we tested it out in Pittsburgh, in Nebraska, and somewhere else. And, we got a couple hundred orders, straight away. And I was like, well, is that good? I had no idea.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's amazing. I'm like, sweet, let's go.
Now, back in 2010, do you remember what was powering your guys' e-commerce store back then? Was it a custom build? Was it?
Yeah, it was custom WordPress. And then, we used, Get Shopped was our Get Shopped is what we used to take transactions. But WordPress back then, and still, is an amazing piece of technology that we were able to fully customize. And then from a logistics standpoint, I don't know if you've heard of Infusionsoft, but we use that to manage our fulfillment. Instead of using it later on, we used it as a CRM, but that's how we managed all of our fulfillment.
You just gave me almost PSD from when I used to use Infusionsoft a decade ago,
right?
With a WordPress store. Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that company in years. I wonder how they're doing. All right, so now you are doing these kind of test markets, and then is there a full nationwide drop at some point?
Yeah, so it starts with local markets that they think will make sense, and so those did well. I had a physical capacity thing, right? So we had to, roll it out a certain way. I was only one individual, right? So imagine handling all these orders, and it's just me. And I live in Chicago, right? I had a partner in Maine where I said, hey, I'm going to send you orders. You fulfill them. I'll handle customer experience. So it wasn't until I added a couple customer experience people that we really opened it up, and then it got pretty wild.
When did it start to grow beyond the customers that basically Groupon was giving you out of the kindness of their heart?
Yeah, right. It's like free marketing. It was probably 8 months in, we started getting, repeat, buyers. We weren't doing any sort of attribution or anything. As I mentioned, I was just trying to learn for a couple of years and then iterate. And then, after about 8 months, I was like, all right, so let's really start being actively reaching out to people and learning more, and because stuff automatically comes in, but then, hey, I want to know this. And then we start surveying people. And so, yeah, it was about 8 months to a year where I was like, all right, this is something. But it wasn't for 2 years that I actually stopped doing whatever else I was doing. I had another business that I was running at the time simultaneously. And so it took about 2.5 years for me to let go of that, because I didn't, who knows if this is going to continue. Right. And here we are in 2025 and, still going at it.
So you're surveying your customers, learning more about, is it just like what they like about your lobster, or potentially like what else they want you to sell them? Yeah.
So also some psychographic information. I was really curious about what their lives were like.
I traveled a lot, and I had to go back to Maine a lot, and Chicago, and New York. And so whenever I was going somewhere, I invited people to meet me out for coffee. So I would meet them in person as well. And then I would ask, where do you like to travel to? Who do you bring with you? How many people how many kids you got? What age are they? How old is your car? What brand is it?
what do you wear for clothes? Things like that. And what I discovered, which is awesome about our particular customer base, is that, yes, they're affluent, but you would never know, right? They spend their money on experiences. They don't drive Bentleys and wear Gucci, shoes. Instead, they want to invest in family is really important. So they like to do family vacations together or cool family experiences. They love going to the theater and dining out and dining in and things like that. So super neat to learn that about them.
And all that information now just helps you curate, almost a one-for-one customer avatar to use in marketing and advertising.
Yeah, totally. Also helps us with our tone, in manner. So approachable elegance is that tone and manner because we are Mainers. So, we're kind of laid back with an edge because, New Englanders are a little edgy. But we know that we're selling a luxurious product that is expensive. And so it's been fun finding ourselves and who we are as a brand as it relates to what our customer wants. But yeah, developing those personas of, the nostalgic who probably went to school back east because there's so many schools, but now they live in Colorado and they miss that and they just want to be reminded of it.
I have been in business for nearly 20 years, and very few companies I have hired in that time have performed as well as Electric Eye. They have knowledgeable staff, and our project was delivered on time and on budget. Electric Eye has exceeded my expectations, and I look forward to working with them again. That is a direct quote from one of our clients at Electric Eye. Electric Eye is a Shopify Plus partner that has helped over 100 brands migrate, redesign, and optimize their stores since 2016. If you'd like to increase your conversion rate, average order value, and revenue per session, we are the true Shopify experts you've been looking for. Right now, we're offering a free diagnostic to qualified brands that reach out and mention the podcast. Visit electriceye.io today to schedule a call and send us a message. Find out why we have over 50 5-star reviews in the Shopify Partner Directory. Again, that's electriceye.io, electriceye.io. What if every customer could help grow your brand without you lifting a finger? Social Snowball is the platform that turns word of mouth into a real growth engine for Shopify and TikTok shops. Here's how it works. Every time someone buys from you, Social Snowball can automatically turn that customer into an affiliate, giving them a unique referral link or discount code instantly. They can share it wherever they're already posting. Instagram stories, TikTok videos, YouTube hauls, you name it. You'll be able to track every referral and influencer sale, send commission payouts in 2 clicks, block codes from leaking to coupon sites, automate influencer seeding and gifting, and let affiliates cash out using over 700 payout options. Plus, it works seamlessly with your existing tech stack and channels like Shopify, Klaviyo, PostScript, and your TikTok shop dashboard. The craziest part is they're basically giving away free money. You can launch your affiliate program for free, which shouldn't take longer than a day if you focus, and enjoy a 30-day trial before ever paying for the app. That's right. You can use this software to turn your customers into affiliates for 30 days for free. To take advantage of this offer, go to socialsnowball.io/honest. That's socialsnowball.io/honest. Again, that's socialsnowball.io/honest. Would $1,000 help your business? Portless is giving new customers $1,000 to reinvest back into their business just for getting started. Right now, you are probably paying tariffs on most items in your warehouse before you even make a sale. That means your cash is just sitting there, trapped in inventory that might not even get sold. Not exactly a recipe for growth, right? But what if we told you there's a smarter way? With Portless, you only pay tariffs when an order ships after you've been paid by your customers. That means
free up more working capital instantly, turn inventory into cash faster, and completely eliminate the risk of paying tariffs on unsold stock. Here's how it works. Portless helps you ship directly from China to your customers' doorsteps in just 5 to 8 days. Yes, that's exactly what Shein and Temu do, and you can do it too. You get access to your inventory days after manufacturing, keep less stock on hand, and only pay duties on what actually sells. No more guessing games, no more cash flow nightmares, just smarter, faster scaling. And remember, all new Portless customers get $1,000 to reinvest back into their business. Schedule your free strategy call today. Visit portless.com/honest. That's portless.com/honest. One more time, that's portless.com/honest. Shopify makes it easy to sell online, but unlocking streamlined global sales demands more. Don't let high cross-border fees, frustrating payment failures, and complex tax requirements hold back your store's international growth. Activate Reach instead. As a merchant of record, Reach helps high-growth brands like yours optimize global sales with local processing and automated tax compliance, all while protecting your store from fraud. Reach is already integrated with Shopify, so you can activate Reach with no extra dev work and start seeing results fast. Brands like Revolve and Everlane trust Reach to boost international approval rates to over 90% and cut cross-border costs by up to 40%. Expanding globally is just the first step. Optimizing performance is where the growth happens. Book a free, no-obligation consultation today and learn how you can level up your global sales at withreach.com/honest. That's withreach.com/honest. withreach.com/honest. Now, you mentioned that you had a different business that you were kind of working at alongside growing Get Maine Lobster.
Mm-hmm.
What was, some of the telltale signs that it's like, all right, I need to go in on this business. I need to stop having my foot in both worlds, and I really need to dive in here and focus. I know there are listeners to the show right now that are probably in that same boat. So, like, what was going on in your mind when you made that decision?
It wasn't my mind; it was my body. I had a panic attack. So, the Get Maine Lobster was just like going great. We did like $1 million in year one, and then we did 2 in year 2. Just kept doing that. It's like, but I still was a consultant, right? So I helped businesses. I literally just kind of how I run GML is I listen and then I say, all right, well, here's a solution. And then I deliver that solution is kind of what I did, prior. And so one day I was trying to get ready to go to a meeting and physically had to go to a meeting in Chicago. And I literally had a panic attack, and I'd never had one. I didn't know what, I thought I was having a heart attack. That's what a panic attack feels like. Mm-hmm. And I had the phone in my hand because I was going to call the 911. And I was like, no, wait, maybe it's not that. You're too young, breathe through it. So I breathed through it. And then as I was driving to and from that meeting, I was like, Mark, it's time to take the risk and jump all in. Who knows what will happen, but you have family and people that care about you. What's the worst that can happen? You could fail, and then you can go get a job or do something else, So, the body will tell you when you need to make a decision, mm-hmm. if you're in tune to it.
So after you made that decision and you kind of dove all into the Get Maine Lobster business, did things start to change more rapidly?
Yeah. So we then started doing our own internal marketing, email marketing, some print marketing. It was start looking in at the unit economics, try to get an understanding of how OpEx relates to what our price to the market should be. What are some other avenues beyond the Groupons and Living Socials that we should be diving into from a paid standpoint, even though Groupon and those aren't paid, and really diving into what our message is about our brand so that we can build longevity. And then the art of listening, still listening and designing. And then we had to find better partners in the state of Maine. And because I was still in Chicago when I made that decision, I moved back to Maine in 2016, I think. So, something like that. And so I had to, get more partners so that we can increase the product line and increase our efficacy and quality and all those things. So the typical stuff that occurs when you go 100%.
Obviously, the name of the show is Honest Ecommerce. Is there anything, looking back on your 15 years at the helm of Get Maine Lobster, like a mistake you might have made or something you want to let our listeners avoid?
Yeah, loads of mistakes. It really wasn't till recent that we got a grip on contribution margin. Contribution margin is essential. Understanding that everything in business that has a cost or is revenue is a percentage. Understanding what that optimal percentage is for each, and then figuring out how to get to that optimal state of being as a business in order for you, to grow. So I did not have a grip on that, for many years. Instead, I was like flat rate. I was like, as long as I get $35 a unit at this velocity, I can pay all my bills, right? And that's really all I cared about, was paying my bills. It wasn't about profit or anything like that. But then as you mature, you're like, hey, I've got something that's valuable, but it's not valuable to anyone or anything without profit. So then in order to design for profit, you really got to understand your contribution margin. So we're going through a redesign operationally right now as we speak, right? So we have a warehouse and vehicles and freezers and, walk-in, all this stuff. And it's like, hey, this is all great and whatnot, but can we go back to the way we used to do it, where we just had partners, where we ensure we're getting the same high quality, but we have partners do it so that we can be more agile and get back to our fun selves and be on more podcasts and produce more content and tell more stories about the industry. So, so that's another thing, is I got away from the essence of really who we are. And we're ambassadors to the state in this beautiful product that we have. We're not a warehouse company. So, but contribution margin, that's the biggest thing, right? Super duper important, for everybody.
We're a big fan at our agency of Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Have you ever read that?
No, I'm going to write. Can you email me that later?
I absolutely will.
Thank you.
It's a little, I would say, it's written a little more for maybe, say, your old company, a consulting company, but it is very... what you said is about finding your ideal percentages and working towards them. I think a lot of businesses, especially younger entrepreneurs, going from 0 to 1, like 0 to $1 million in sales, you don't know what your margin is. You are just hoping to sell more and it'll work out eventually. And when the money starts coming in, it's less of a, the money's there. I don't need to know the margin because it keeps happening, right? But
that was my exact attitude.
Yeah, it's like, no, we got money coming in and our bills are getting paid, but that you don't understand like how much you should be taking home as an owner. You don't understand what you should be giving back to your employees. You don't understand where you're wasting money. I think that there's like going from 0 to 1 is just finding product market fit. And then like 1 to $5 or $10 million a year is like building an actual business. And then after that, in my personal opinion, then it's all about how to make the money work for you and your business.
Yeah. And our people, right? Because we don't have to fit in the entire market, right? But we want to make sense to the people we serve, and so let us do the work. Mm-hmm. That's our responsibility, not theirs, and that's the fun stuff. Really, is figuring that out and being like, oh, wow. But it gets tough, especially as I'm a innovator, right? If you look at the traction,
Yep.
right? I'm classic, right? My feet are not on the ground. My head is in the clouds. So it's important for me to have that person that keeps my feet on the ground, so that we not only grow, but also become more and more sustainable and have a strong foundation. Because, I sell luxury products. So in macroeconomical times like this, my job becomes a little bit more challenging, which is great. That means I have to be more creative and empathetic, and that's fine.
Yeah. Also a great book, Traction by Gino Wickman.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, 7 years ago, maybe I read Traction by Gino Wickman, Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. And overnight, me and my business partner realized, it's like, oh, we have a real business now, after we understood a lot of these concepts that were just not familiar to us at that time. So highly recommend anyone out there reading those and taking from it what you will and making it work for your business. Traction's kind of a slog, and it's written for a corporate structure.
Yeah.
We made it our own, and we've been running on our own modified version of EOS since 2016.
Yeah, EOS is great. And yes, I like that you made it for you, because I have heard of a lot of people that tried to use it, but they just felt like the rules could not be broken. Some of them shouldn't be, but also you need to make it for yourselves so everybody is excited about having conversations.
Yeah, if you got a team that could hardly share a pizza, the way that those meetings work out doesn't make any sense, So it's definitely kind of own. And what's funny is I believe Mike Michalowicz actually wrote a different book called Clockwork that's kind of about almost his own take on traction. I think it's on my shelf over there. I don't know if I ever got around to reading it. Avid reader over here.
Yeah, myself as well. Absolutely. I love consuming, because I don't have actually, I am getting my MBA this year, but because I'm a lifelong learner. I'll enroll in school, random times to learn things. But I have a degree in hospitality and creative writing, and it's just now I'm 52, I think. And so right now I'm getting my MBA. Not that I need it, right? But actually I got a lot of great stuff out of it. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are not have degrees, that.
So I just interviewed a gentleman right before this, and he's like a CEO for hire in the direct consumer world, and his major in college was chemical engineering.
Right, which is actually awesome for business, because it's all engineering. Even the marketing part of it, right? So there's the art side of it, but engineering is such an awesome degree. If you have anybody with engineering experience, having them on the team, they solve stuff just like
it's it's problem solving. It's being creative and trying to think about the problem in a way, ignoring the solutions that you can't afford or can't do legally. It's just being creative and trying to figure there is a way to do it, and it's not necessarily the way that everyone's telling you how to do it.
Yeah, and they probably learned Six Sigma along the way in their education, which is just awesome to have from a process standpoint. And yeah, that's cool. CEO for hire.
Mark, we chatted about a whole bunch of things. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think would resonate with our audience?
Taking care of you, right, as the leader is essential, because you will see it come out in ways that you're not proud of. So taking care of you is important. So I try to take care of my mind. I try to take care of my body, so that I can be who I need to be for whomever at any given moment. And, our business has been a roller coaster, but I'm, the calm one, right? Even though it all comes on my shoulders, I'm the calm one. So I've built massive resilience over time. And I have huge belief in myself and my capabilities. And I understand that for people that help me daily to achieve what I want to achieve, I need to be a rock. And so I can't be a rock unless I take care of me, So reading, right? Not just nonfiction, but fiction, and meditation, exercise, eat well, good, clean food, all that stuff. That's important, especially because we work. Like I work 7 days a week. I don't have a stop. Since I can remember, I've worked 7 days a week, even on vacation. So, and I'm sure most people are like that in this space.
Yeah. Some people, when there's a problem to be solved, it's always on their mind.
Yeah. The mind doesn't stop.
Not at all. Not at all. Mark, if I'm listening to this podcast and I want to try some of these awesome lobsters, what do I do?
So getmainelobster.com is our website. And usually at the top, there's a little announcement bar, and that's typically the best value going on that particular day. Or you can sign up for our newsletter. You'll get a pop. So you can do that. And our newsletter subscribers tend to get our best deals. But go for the lobster tails. It's a great starter. Or we have lobster roll kits that are amazing. We have a local Italian baker who's been here for 100 years. That's where we get our rolls from. And our lobster meat is like, it's already done. It's cooked to perfection. It arrives frozen, thaw, it's ready to eat. We have even a little secret seasoning for your lobster roll too. But lobster tails, lobster rolls are great. If you're up for adventure, live lobsters are amazing. They're very expensive right now. You'll see on the website, but worth it. But yeah, getmainelobster.com. Same thing on all socials. You can always DM us and ask questions, and tons of recipes on there too.
Awesome. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing all of those great insights.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Chase. It was great.
We can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own businesses. You can find all the links in the show notes. You can subscribe to the newsletter at honestecommerce.co to get each episode delivered right into your inbox. If you're enjoying this content, consider leaving a review on iTunes. That really helps us out. Lastly, if you're a store owner looking for an amazing partner to help you get your Shopify store to the next level, reach out to Electric Eye at electriceye.io/connect. Until next time.